Hello, everybody. It's good to be back here on Outreach Noah. We didn't get to be here. Well, I shouldn't say we didn't get to be here. Last week was the holidays of Thanksgiving in the U.S., and so we took that time off. But it's good to be back tonight, and we're looking forward to our Q&A, the question that was posted in a simple walk today. Speaking of Simple Walk, you can come on over and join that Facebook group, and there you'll get all the notifications of the class and everything. And you can also find the links to Power Faith Radio and the links to our YouTube channel, Outreach Noah, and also the link to the Zoom room. If you'd like to come in and be with us, we would welcome you and greatly appreciate it. All right, Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
All right. How about
more on the good than the pretty?
I understand. Well,
oh, you see now there, I got you.
I will not comment on that on the grounds that it may incriminate me. So go ahead, Terry. Go ahead and welcome everybody.
All right. Yes. Greetings, everyone. Here in the Zoom room, we've got tonight, we've got, of course, Scotty's down in the engineering room, and we've got Ronald and Thomas and Veronica here's with us. As Scotty's always said, if you want to come over into the Zoom room, just go to Simple Walk. You'll see the link there, put it in there and come on over and join us in the Zoom room. Welcome everyone in the on the radio, Power Faith Radio. Thank you for joining us again from all over the world, wherever you're at, and the YouTube. Those that are watching us via live on the YouTube, or those who are watching the recording. Thank you for watching and joining us. Welcome at any time to come and join us here at Outreach Noah.
Yeah,
Scotty, you ready?
I'm ready for our Tzedakah time. We appreciate everybody who has participated. I know it's been, again, when we have these couple of weeks. I think I'm going to start when we have time off, when we see we're not going to be on there. I think we're going to try maybe somehow do a short video of our Tzedakah list to try to get that out so people can grab those names and write them down. But we'll work on that in the future. But it's good to have you here. We thank everybody for participating. And now we're going to get straight into our Tzedakah time. As always, Terry and I give Tzedakah for our main teacher, Pesach and Shira Sherbo. We heard from Shira Sherbo. This was it last week. She sent my wife and I writing that she is doing. Did she send it to you, Terry?
Yeah.
And so,
she's and I talked with Pesach for about 45 minutes.
Great.
And she was here. I don't know when she's flying back, but she's here in the United States. She's got 6 children. She came to visit and spend Thanksgiving with her children and grandchildren here in the States, and she'll be flying back. So also, be praying for her on her flight back.
Yeah. Okay. Also, Jeremy Kitty, he's reaching and changing his career. So we are giving Tzedakah for him tonight, that he would meet that goal in that career. Also, Dave Logan, we've got him on our Tzedakah list tonight. Daniel Lopez is still on our Tzedakah list tonight. William and Tina Lyons, we have them on our Tzedakah list tonight. Kara Helton is on our Tzedakah list tonight. I'm trying to read these. I think I wrote everything too small, but I'm working on it. Chrissy Seaton is on our Tzedakah list tonight. Ronald, how is Chrissy? Have you talked to Chrissy lately?
Yeah, I spoke to her for an hour yesterday. Yeah, she's doing good. Yeah, she's no problems at all at the moment.
Right.
Getting back into the swing of normal life again. So, yeah, she's doing good.
Great. Also, Harleen Houle is on our Tzedakah list tonight. And Michael Garland, he is on our Tzedakah list tonight. Katie Rivers, we have her on our Tzedakah list tonight. Marshall Warwick on our Tzedakah list tonight. Let's continue to pray for Marshall. Nadine Akins. I'm going to tell you something. We have truly seen, I know she is a double amputee now. But she is more healthy today than I think I've I've seen her in the 20 years that we've known her. Thomas can vouch for that. She is doing so good. And we took her to the doctor yesterday, and the doctor told her, "You are not the same girl I saw a year ago in my office." And she's gaining strength, and she's going out and eating with us, and Thomas is going down there and sit with her some in the daytime, and they just sit and talk and watch movies. And so I just want to thank the Creator for what He has done for Nadine Akins. It is truly wonderful when you can see the progression of change in someone. Before I go any further on my Sadaka list, I want to tell you there is a convenient mart. I'm not going to plug any kind of stores, but there's a convenience store that I frequent, and you know me, if I frequent that, everybody in there knows me, and so about 3 years ago, there was this lady who was a cashier, and this was during the time of the the sickness going around, and she was going through radical chemotherapy. She had lost all the hair on her head. She had to wear gloves. She had to wear a mask, and she wore a hat. And so they would have charity boxes sitting there on the counter, and I would just felt impressed. I would go in and I would give her my charity that I was going to put in that. And I said, "Here, I want you to put this in there from you to the charity." And so I have watched her change over the course of 3 years. Now she has a beautiful head of hair, and she is just radiant. She's glowing, and she's just laughing. And I went in and I told her, I said, I hate to bring this up, but I want to show you something. And I had a picture of her on my phone because I always love to see the outcome of what the Creator does. And I said, the Creator can use time for us, and what a difference. And we both were standing there crying because during that time, she did not think she had another day. And now her whole life is turned around, and she is just I can't hardly explain. It's just, there's no way you can put that in words. There's no way. But Nadine is one of those. So, okay, you are one too. Thank you so much. So Fred Lee Rawls is on our Sadaka list tonight. Also, Ronald, let's talk about you, and let's talk about your lovely sister. How you both doing?
I'm doing fine. My sister still been in and out of hospital, but really still not finding any results of what's going on, except the possibility that it's misinformation in the nerve system, giving out that she's in pain and she's not. But they're still looking, they're still trying, but they're not coming up with anything, and relief is not really happening for the pain either. So
and how are you doing, Ronald?
yeah, I'm good at the moment.
Right.
Things have settled a lot, but I'll still take the appointment when it comes, just to make sure there's nothing going wrong. But it's settled, 90% settled at the moment.
Okay. We're going to continue to give Sadaka for you and your sister. Also, yes. What?
Can I add someone? I never thought of it earlier.
Yes.
Stephen Dunche.
You'll have to spell that last name for me. You can send it to me in a text.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll add it to the list, but I'm giving Sadaka right now.
He's been crook for a while, and the doctor said he was lucky he came when he did, because he's got a severe case of bronchitis, but it was just about hitting on pneumonia. Yeah, he's an Australian, but he lives in Texas, and he was just at a crossover point where he's starting a new job, and they've given him some leeway. I think he has started a couple of days ago, but he's probably not 100%, but he was really struggling.
Okay, we just gave Sadaka for Stephen. Also, Pamela Steffi. Did I pronounce that name correctly, Veronica?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
All right, we're giving Sadaka for her tonight, and also Sydney Grisham. We're giving Sadaka for Sydney Grisham tonight, and on our blessed memory tonight, we have Ronald Morton. Ronald Morton in our blessed memory, giving Sadaka for his merit. Would you help us pray tonight? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears our prayers and supplications. Our King, do not send us away empty handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen. Amen. All right, Terry, are you ready to dive into this question tonight?
But we're going to give it a try.
Okay, good deal.
You want to kind of read the question?
Give me 1 minute. Let me do something right over here. I got somebody in the radio holding the Zoom. Hold on just a minute. Sorry. We're going to bring them up. We're going to send it to them. Give me just a minute. It's live. It's not Memorex. I just told on myself, didn't I? Just told how old I was. So, all right. Yes, I'm ready to. So, I kind of formulated this from a couple of different discussions from the radio and people that sent me messages through Messenger and other means. And so, are we put here on the earth just to live and die? Is that our only thing going on here? If not, what are we to be doing? What are we to be doing? What are we supposed to be doing with our life? Did I put that in a good enough? I just was kind of bringing
If
that
you're here
up.
in America, it's work, pay taxes, and die. No.
Yeah.
That's what we joke about. Over here. What it seems like. No, we weren't just, brought into existence for nothing. Every soul that the Creator sends to the earth has a purpose. He sends them here for a purpose. None of us are here by accident. We're divinely designed, divinely sent. At the time, and sometimes when we look around, maybe we didn't have the best family, the best parents, or the best neighborhood we grew up in, what's going on. But everything falls within his plan, even when we don't understand it. And there are things that we need, I guess what you said, what should we be doing? And the first thing for ourselves is learning to live, righteously with God. And that doesn't mean, I hate that some words have a religious sounding tone to it.
Yeah.
It's not a religious sounding tone when you understand Noah. He's the only one in the Torah that the Creator said that he was righteous and that he was morally pure. And yet, what was Noah's religion?
Right.
He walked with God. He did what God asked him to do. So when we look at that, are we here to I'll be honest with you, I can't stand sometimes when I hear certain terms about this person is a good, name the religion. No, they're human beings. It's like the humanity of people has been traded out to whatever religion or belief system or lack of belief system. Some are looked at, that are secular, that don't have any quote religious beliefs, but they're good people. but they're generally condemned because they don't have a religious system. And so the world's kind of messed up when it comes to that. God didn't create religions, man did. He wants us to live by his way. And that's something I've been really, really studying, what we've been talking about a lot here. Like, hold on here. Somebody want to grab, there you go. That's one of the things I've been studying here a lot. And I've been talking to several people. And that's one of the reasons I had a conversation with Pesach. I talked to him for about 45 minutes about my studies and where it was taking me. And we had a really, really good discussion. And of course, Scotty, we talked quite a bit about you too. And he was checking up on you, and I told him you've been busy, and shared a little bit about some of the great things that you've been doing up there where you're at. But God just has a way of life he wants humanity to live by, so that the earth is peaceful and is growing. And so tonight, I chose. I've been reading this book, and I've mentioned it a few times, by Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory. He was the chief rabbi of Great Britain, and he was actually Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks because Queen Elizabeth knighted him. He was knighted for the good works he did in Great Britain. He's a very amazing man. And you ever get a chance to go to his YouTube videos, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, very soft-spoken. He worked with just everybody. And you're going to see here a little bit in some of his writings. I'm going to read a little bit tonight, part of a chapter called Mending the World. We're going to look at a few things that he says in conjunction with this sentence. But I kind of want to read this first part. He gives a quote from Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik. And when I read this, and when I read Scotty's question, my mind went in a direction that several things I already knew. And then I'm like, wait a minute, there's a path there. And it's going to be unique. We'll share some things that many probably haven't seen or known, and how it's connected kind of in a beginning foundation area to answering this question, what are we here for? But this quote from Rabbi Soloveitchik says in this chapter that Rabbi Sacks wrote in To Heal a Fractured World, The Ethics of Responsibility. Under the chapter of Mending the World, he starts out, he says, from this quote, when God created the world, he provided an opportunity for the work of his hands, man, to participate in his creation. The creator, as it were, impaired reality in order that mortal man could repair its flaws and perfect it. In one of these passages we looked at here a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to go through a few things as like a small little journey, if you don't mind. Kind of bring an introduction to a little bit of what our purpose is. And Scotty doesn't know anything about this. I hadn't talked to him about it yet. So y'all can go ahead and flood him with some questions, because I know you're going to. All righty. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. You don't mind. Let's go to Genesis 1:26. There's a lot of religious misinterpretation pertaining to this verse, because they've been interpreted from translation and understood through misinformation because they don't know the Torah. I'm just going to put it that way. But we're going to look at it from a different vein tonight, but you're going to learn what this verse really means. But I'm tying it to the question. Genesis 1:26, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Now, what we're going to learn is who the us is in this passage. It's not what you've been taught by religion. Let us make man, because I'm going to connect this with our question of what are we to be doing? Let us make man in our image. To understand this passage, the great Ramban, Rabbi Ben Nachmanides, has a great teaching on this passage. And we go back to the beginning of the sixth day. We got to read this all in context. In verse 24, 124 of Genesis, the beginning of the sixth day, God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures, each according to its kind, animal and creeping thing, beast of the land according to its kind." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to its kind, and the animals according to its kind, and every creeping being of the ground to its kind. And God saw that it was good. The sages teach on this is the climax of the physical creation is at hand. The animal's life was created first, and then man, the being whose performance for good or for ill would determine the destiny of the universe. This sequence implies that God was telling Adam, in effect, to complete the world is now placed in your hands. Your task is to make it function properly. We're going to see that here in just a few verses ahead. But as we see here, that God says, "Let the earth bring forth the creatures according to its kind." And as you finish up in the sixth day here, it says, "And God said, let us make man in our image and our likeness." When you read this passage in context, we see here that the us that is being spoken about here is the earth. He's telling the earth to bring forth the animals. But when it comes to man, he said, "Let us make man in our image." And our image is that our bodies came from the earth. Our souls, which nothing else on earth has a soul like we have, comes from God because he breathed into man and he became a living soul. And so we have here God partnering with the earth in the creation of man. We are part earth. We are part, in human terms, heaven. We have a spark of God within us. We have his very breath that carries over into every person. That's the image of God that's in every one of us. So here we see God at the creation of man, his last part of creation, his capstone, man, the only part of the creation that would carry his breath. And we see God in the earth partnering. God partnered. He just didn't make man of him by himself. He partnered with the earth. And as the sages says here, now man was about to be put to work. The earth was going to be put in his hands. In chapter 2 and verse 5, we go over to chapter 2 and verse 5. It says, "The Lord God formed the man of the dust of the ground." Wait a minute, that's verse 7. Sorry, I've got to go up. "Now all the trees of the earth, of the field, were not yet on the earth, and all the herbs of the field had not yet sprouted." See, he brought the earth was to bring forth everything, all the vegetation, but it was still under the ground. It hadn't sprouted yet. It says, "Now the trees of the field were not yet on the earth, and all the herbs of the field had not yet sprouted, for the Lord God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to work the soil." Now the sages teaches us two things here. and we read this a little bit a few weeks back. When it comes to rain on the earth works in conjunction with man's obedience and disobedience to God. When God tells us to Israel, he told Israel, his priesthood, if you don't live according to the covenant that you have agreed with, I will withhold the rain. The skies will become like iron. Here we see there is no rain because there was no man to pray for rain. The sages teaches us that man was to pray and ask for rain. And he was here also to work the soil. So now we see here that not only God partnered with the earth, with man, to make man, now man is brought into the partnership with God in the earth to work the earth, to bring rain upon the earth through his prayers, to bring production on the earth by working the soil. So now we have God, man, and the earth all partners together in the creation. Every one of us is a partner with the earth and with God. The sages teaches us as man tarries away from God, the earth tarries from him. The partnership becomes broken when we're not living a proper life and treating one another properly and living in wickedness and evil. The earth backs away. The partnership becomes broken. But as we draw back close to God and we walk with God like Noah, then the earth and God and man are working together in partnership. So we see here that part of our duties of living on the earth is to maintain that partnership with our Creator and with the earth. And now there's another person that comes in. We go on up to Genesis, and we find that man, it's not good for him to be alone. So he created a woman come out of man. So we got man that come out of the earth. Now a woman comes out of man. Now there's another person that's added into the equation. And so now we have God, the earth, man, and woman. And the partnership keeps growing. And then as that husband and wife partnered together, then as humanity grew into communities, then we partner with one another. That's part of loving your neighbor as yourself. There's a reason for that, because we're all in this corporation of God together. We are to become partners with one another, because the nations were given the responsibility to settle the earth. We are to settle the earth. We are to spread out across the earth, occupy 100% of the earth that we can physically live in. And the sages is beautiful. It's interesting, as mankind scattered across the earth, the peoples who settled in all these different climates, whether it's like Antarctica in the snow in the northern regions, or in the southern regions, or in the western regions, or down where the rainforest is and down where the deserts are, every one of those peoples that are from those areas, God gave them the ability to live there. Their bodies could live in the environments that they settled in, because he wanted man to occupy all the earth. It's the same thing with Israel. Israel was given one piece of land, and that land is conducive to who they are as a people. And it's a holy land. I've been even studying it. It's a sacred land. It actually changed the land, the soil itself changed status when God made covenant with Abraham and gave that land to Abraham. The status of the land changed to a holy land beyond all of the land or the rest of the earth. That's the reason why we aren't given all of those rules that the Jewish nation was given, because those laws are meant to be done on that piece of property. Our land is not established to observe all those rules, because it's a different kind of, it's at a different status. It's at the status so that we can occupy it. Not everywhere has kosher foods available. It's the reason why it's not a sin for us to eat the things that Jews can't eat. It's not a sin for us, but it is for them. For us, it's not, because God gives us places. He gives, people in the islands that actually has nothing but seafood to eat. He's not going to condemn them. He's not going to put you somewhere and then condemn you for the life you have to live because that's where you're at. Like, he's not going to condemn you for eating certain things when he doesn't provide you. He provides every human being with what they need to live where they need to live. And so we have, starting there in Genesis 1:26, God partnering with the earth to make man. Then when man came about, man partnered with God and the earth to pray and to toil the earth, to pray for the rain and to toil the earth, to settle it, to build on it. And then he brings woman in, and the woman brought children in, and the children brought more in. And the partnership is to continue. What God started with the earth in Genesis 1:26 wasn't supposed to stop. We are supposed to be in partnership with one another. That's the reason why our commandments, when you look at our commandments, we have, the prohibition of idolatry and the prohibition of blasphemy. That's our connection and our partnership with God. Then we have the prohibition of murder, the prohibition of theft, the prohibition of forbidden sexual relations, and we have the positive commandments of justice. All of that is in partnership with man. Then we have ever mean high, the commandment, seventh commandment that was given to Noah, of not to eat meat torn from a living animal. And when we study that out, then that's our covenant with earth, our partnership with earth, how we treat earth. So within our 7 commandments contains partnership with God, partnership with earth, partnership with man. It's all there. One big partnership. And when we live according to his dictates, it maintains that partnership. When we don't, it breaks the partnership. Scotty, anything before I get into this writing? Did I explain that okay? All right. Now I would like to, if you don't mind, I would like to read just 2 pages here, and we can stop and talk about this from this chapter. I found that was really, really good. I would like to share from Rabbi Sachs on mending the world. And you'll see how this partnership thing that I saw when you asked me that question, I began looking into this and seeing what God has done from the beginning through to us today, that we weren't just put here to live and die, but we're here to be in partnership. Rabbi Sachs starts off, he goes here, he says, the late David Baum was one of the most unusual men I've ever met. To picture him, one has to think of Harpo Marx. Now, you young generation, you got to go look up the Marx brothers, look up Harpo Marx, and you'll see who we're talking about here. He was a great comedian back in the day. David was his clone, short, full of energy, with the same shock of curly silver hair and an impish, mischievous smile. He was a religious Jew who saw care for children as a sacred task. But he carried his faith lightly. He was full of fun. He was a man who took God so seriously that he did not need to take him seriously at all. It's kind of an interesting statement. David was a pediatrician, one of the finest in Britain. He developed new techniques of childcare. Among them were the silver swaddler. He invented to protect premature babies, and the technique he developed for pasteurizing human milk. He worked tirelessly to create the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, and became its first president. He chose as his motto the words from Psalms 127. Children are God's heritage and his reward to us. Was immoderately proud. He was immoderately proud of the Hebrew poster he had made of those words, designed by his son, another religious artist living in Safed, Israel. He helped build the first children's hospice in Britain. He invited Sister Helen, the nun, who initiated the project. Who initiated the project to his son's bar mitzvah. What should I wear? She asked him. So we got this, he's invited this nun to his son's bar mitzvah. So she's asking, what shall I wear? And he says, come in your habit, meaning come in your nun clothes to a Jewish bar mitzvah. He replied, God will enjoy that. Not content to confine his work to Britain, he went to Brazil, Ethiopia, Thailand, and helped doctors there to improve levels of childcare. He did the same in Moscow, as a result of which he became a friend of President Mikhail Gorbachev. He was deeply concerned with the fate of the refugee children during the 1999 war in Kosovo. And it was the course of the sponsored bicycle ride to raise money to build a healthcare center there that he suffered a heart attack that killed him at the tragically young age of 59. David was a religious Zionist. Though he lived in Bristol, he left instructions that he be buried in Israel. One of the last projects in which he was involved was the creation of the state-of-the-art child care center for Palestinian children in Gaza. He explained to the people that this was the Zionism meant for him, to want to be the best for Israel's children, but no less for the children of Israel's neighbors. And I love this. If you want to write, I highlighted this next thing, and he said, love, decency, and care know no religious or ethnic boundaries. You want to write that down? I thought this was a really good statement. Love, decency, and care know no religious or ethnic boundaries. He used to tell a story taken from an American anthropologist, Lorraine Elsley, that summed up his attitude toward life. An old man was walking on a beach at dawn. Now, this is going to answer the question right here. This story is going to answer the question, what should we be doing? An old man was walking on the beach at dawn when he noticed a young man picking up starfish stranded by the receding tide and throwing them back into the sea one by one. He went up to him and he asked him, "Why are you doing this?" The young man replied that the starfish would die if left exposed to the morning sun. He said, "But the beach goes on for miles and there's thousands of starfish. You're not going to be able to save them all. How can your effort make even any difference at all?" The young man looked at the starfish in his hand and threw it safely to the waves. He said, "To this one," he said, "it made all the difference." David loved the story because he knew we do not have to redeem the world altogether in one go. We do it one day at a time, one person at a time, one act at a time. A single life, said the sages of Israel. is like a universe. Save a life and you save a world. Change a life and you begin to change the world. There is a name for this within the Jewish people, and it's called tikkun olam, mending or perfecting the world. All the ideas within the Jewish religious ethics of responsibility, it is the least, what's called halakhic, the least rooted in law. Its origins are mystical. Not everything of religious significance within the Jewish faith can be expressed in precise formulas, laws, code of conduct, guidelines that do not change from one generation to the next, one situation to the next. Tikkun olam is something each of us does differently. Each of us does differently. It is an expression of the faith that is no accident that we are here in this time and this place with these gifts, with these capacities, and this opportunity to make a positive difference in the world. This belief is known as divine providence, or in Hebrew, Hashgaga Pratis. The idea that God is operative in all of our lives as individuals, not only as the Greek philosophers believed, concerned with universals. We are here because someone wanted us to be, and because there is a task that only we can fulfill. No two people, places, times, and circumstances are the same. Where what I can do meets what needs to be done, there is God's challenge and our task. Go ahead, Scotty.
Takes me a minute more to get over here. Hold on, I'm going to get us back on gallery view. So I guess I'm going to just open this can of worms and I'm going to dump it in your plate. Okay? You said something quite interesting about the nun coming the way she dresses.
Yeah, that's the way he told you. She asked, what should I wear to your son's bar mitzvah? And he says, what is your regular wear? What's normal for you? And so he said, he's just go ahead and come. God will enjoy it.
So I know that there's a lot of people who have left many different religions and have found this path that we are on now. I'm choosing my words. You can add words to what I'm saying if you desire, okay? And they seem to want to make wars with the other religion that they left. So and they're frustrated, they're mad, and I can see that somewhat, but that is, how are we supposed to act around other people who don't
There's
think
so
like
much
that?
I have read from Rabbi Sachs in this one particular book that deals with that issue. Matter of fact, just give me and I want to share something that happened with me today based on what you just said. If you don't mind, I want to read another part from the Responsibility of Society chapter in Sachs' book.
I'm gonna put you back on speaker view.
Let's see where. And this deals with what you just brought up. And again, I was one of those that kind of had an angry period, and you kind of something I guess people just go through. Some people go through, and you got to go through it, just kind of like like this thing says, if you got to walk through hell, walk through like you own it, you just sometimes some people have to go through certain things, and I did have to go through part of something similar to that. But what changed my life was in that area that you're talking about was my personal study of Jonah. And we can go through that, like I've said in the future, if someone wants. It'll take a while to go through the book of Jonah. Last time we did it took 20 weeks. Don't have to take that long, but it's a really good study. And it changed my life and some of the things that I learned. Rabbi Sachs here is talking about what I don't like these terms but it's the terms we're given to with right now. And he's talking about what the Jewish faith has to talk about, what's called the Noahide covenant, which is named after Noah. Noah was a righteous man, and we were basically, the nations are to live in the perimeters of the righteousness and the morality that Noah lived in. And it actually, in my studies, that's exactly what Job lived in. Job lived by, and I've been studying Job here lately, and he lived by this way of life. Anyhow, the basic norms of responsibility of human conduct, because that's really what we're talking about. Yes, it has names. We don't care for the term Noahide covenant. I don't like it. I don't like terms sometimes because God doesn't put terms on things. We had to do that, as man, to explain things. But basically, our life is to be governed by responsibilities of human conduct. And that's what we've been talking about tonight. He says, in any case, he said, Rabbi Nissim Goen, who lived in 990 to 1062, in his writings, he wrote, all the commands that flows from reason and human understanding and have obligated humanity since God first created man on earth. He goes, Rabbi Sachs goes, I find the distinction fundamental to the Jewish faith between the universal requirements of human decency and the particular code of religious tradition helpful, even essential in a multicultural society. There's a common ground and a common good. And there are the semi-private domains and the diverse religious traditions. We are responsible to society, for the former, to our own community, and for the latter. That is, I believe, as it should be. No one should seek, and I like this is coming from the chief rabbi, at the time, chief rabbi of Great Britain. He says, no one should seek to impose his or her religious convictions on society. But we should seek to bring the insights of our respective faiths to a public conversation about the principles for which we stand and the values we share. That would involve, for the religious groups within society, a shift from politics of interest to politics of principle. It is when our horizons extend beyond our own faith communities that our separate journeys converge and we become joint builders of a more gracious world. He said, morality is the history of humanity's attempts to construct a common life on the basis of shared codes and conventions and convictions. Then this other part over here that ties into this, he says, I wrote this quote down and posted it here the other day. He says, what is striking about the Hebrew Bible is that it is based on two processes. The social contract that creates a state and the social covenant that creates a society. Israel enacted in a social contract in the days of Samuel when it voted for a monarchy, entered its social covenant several centuries earlier at Mount Sinai when it accepted the sovereignty of God and the authority of his commandments. Israel was not yet a state. It had not entered into its land, but from that moment on, it was a society. And I like how he ties this into America. He goes, bound by principle, by the principle of shared responsibility. It's analyzed in chapter 7, which tonight I read from chapter 6. He said, America underwent a similar process. I thought this was very interesting. First came its equivalent of covenant, the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Only later did it formulate a social contract, the Constitution, 1787. So the message of the Bible, talking about the Hebrew Scriptures, from the politics of the contemporary West, is that it is not enough to have a state. You also need to have a society, meaning that common belonging that comes from the sense that we are neighbors as well as strangers, that we have duties to one another, to the heritage of the past, and the hopes of the generations not yet born. And then this right here, I really like. Society is not a hotel where we receive services in exchange for money, but it is a home to which we feel attached and whole, and whose history is literal or adoptive, our own. Society is not a hotel where we receive services in exchange for money, but it is a home where we are attached and whose history is literal and adoptively our own. And so that kind of ties into your question about what you were asking about the different faiths. And if you don't mind, I'll share a little bitty story that happened with me today.
Yeah.
And many of you that's listened to us for a long period of time, that that Scotty and I, we no longer are part of some of the things that we were in the past. Whereas, Scotty was an evangelist, I was an associate pastor, and just our journeyed on as we kept studying and drawing closer to God and walking where we feel he wants us to walk and all of that. And Scotty was bringing up the issue of some people really struggle with coming away from faiths that they were a part of. And they have some bitternesses about some things. And I love Rabbi Lazer Brody, who lives in Ashdod, Israel. And he's an amazing guy. I've got hundreds of his CDs where he translated teachings from his teacher, Rabbi Shalom Arush, who only speaks Hebrew. I've been following him since like 2008 and actually began learning about Emunah, the Hebrew word for faith, and what it all means. And one of the things that Scotty and I learned early on from Rabbi Brody was that you don't be ashamed of your past because it is the path which brought you to where you are now. See, some of you keep journeying this path. You're not going to be where you are right now, 2 years now, 5 years now, 10 years now. As you draw closer to God, if you're walking the same way with God today, and you're walking with him just like that 10 years from now, you've not learned anything. God doesn't change, but we do. And that's a beautiful thing. Well, today, I work with this man. He's in his late 60s, and he's a pastor of a small Baptist church over here in Bradley County, out in the country. And he was telling me today, we got to talking at the church that he pastors at. The church itself, I mean, it's down. He said roller coasters. It goes up, it goes down. Right now it's at a phase where it's mostly older people that are there. No young people are there right now. And but the building itself, the church itself, began in the 1860s, 70s. And he said this lady who was part of the historical community of Bradley County had come and visited and initiated a lot of research to be done on the history of their little church. And he was sharing this stuff with me, the things that they had found out about, about things from starting from the 1860s and things that happened in the 40s and things that happened in the 60s and stuff that they had found. And it was very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And actually they have, through their research, has located a lot of the church records from distant family members who were actually descendants of who started that church in the 1800s. And because of that, they were able to donate a large part of their historical documents of that little church to the local museum there in town. But I'm not part of that way of life anymore. But today I shared with joy, sharing with my coworker, as I sat there and I listened to him with all this joy about the things that they had found out in the 100 years or so, 150 years that little bitty building has been there. It had burnt once and then it was rebuilt, and it was just all these things he went through, and the joy that he was. It's got the old church bell, and it hadn't been rung in decades. And one of the men years ago climbed up in there and fixed things and got a rope to it. And when Rick hadn't been over there long as a pastor, when the rope dropped down through the hole, the guy handed it to him, and almost in tears in his eyes, he rung that bell. Probably hadn't been rung in 75 years. He says, now we ring it every Sunday. And he was just about crying because he's here the first time, I think, man, and he got the honor. I may not be at that place anymore, but I could rejoice with my fellow brother human in his joys, in his journey. Some would have, backed off with an arrogance, like, I don't believe, anyway, walked away. No. That my past, I'm not ashamed of, nor am I afraid of it. And I'm not ashamed of my brother who may still be on a path that where I was at several years ago. I'm not saying he may even be where I'm at by the time he dies. I don't know. That's between him and God. But to share in his joys, to hear his story, human to human, and to respect one another, that's what we're to be doing. So it was kind of an interesting afternoon. Go ahead, Scotty.
Oh, I agree. I think part of our responsibility now, and I'm not saying this wasn't always embedded in my heart, but it manifests itself now more than ever, is how I relate to others, regardless. And it's hard. I ain't saying it's easy, regardless of their political affiliation or religious affiliation, how we relate to them. Now, there are some, you see, I got this sore right here on my lip where I bite it,
You got to. I understand.
And then there are some where I have to speak out, and just, talk to the best of my abilities to them. And then there are others, I just have to overlook them. I just,
Some you can't. There's going to be people within your paths.
Yes.
That's just not meant for you to walk with.
I've always thought a great show or teaching or class, whatever, should be called Learning to Live Among Them. So anyway, that's where we're at. Even fellow believers where we are now, who may be in different sects of this belief, may not see everything that we see. They may, and it is aggravating somewhat, but they may look like the Jewish people and do like the, you know what I'm talking about. But even in those, we have to be somewhat humble. Can you be humble and arrogant at the same time?
Well, you probably can, since we learned here the other day that you can be righteous and crooked.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So, okay.
You know, we're humans, oxymorons is, part of who we are.
Yeah. When I was little, the biggest one I always thought, is up and under. You got to go up and under that house. So, anyway. Yep. All right, Terry, great teaching. Thank you so much for presenting that to us tonight. Are you about ready to close out?
We can, if we got any questions or anything.
Everything's looking good.
Did we cover the question?
Yes.
Well,
what our job is now? What are we supposed to be doing? One of the ways, and I think if we can next week, I would like to present something to you. I'm not going to get too far in it now. Is the part of our job that is repairing the broken things around us. You know what I'm talking about? Just presenting to have and it may be common knowledge. I don't know, but maybe it's a good discussion to kind of walk and be receptive to what's going on around us, whether it's holding a door for somebody, simply just sitting and talking to somebody. You know what I'm talking about, all different ways. So anyway, we don't have to do that next Wednesday. I just think that'd be something we could,
we'll discuss it. Try to through the week.
Okay. All right.
Not much time I'm awake because I got my hours changing here and there, and duties at work this month is.
That's us too. We're fixing to go into 2025. I remember Y2K. I've still got boxes of stuff I printed.
That was almost right at 25 years ago.
I know. I've got boxes of stuff I printed off my computer because I was afraid I was going to lose it. And I didn't. Just clicked over. Only thing I lost was all that ink that I had to spend all night long printing stuff. So yeah. So, all right. Everybody, we thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. We thank you those that are listening on Power Faith Radio. We appreciate you coming this way. And as I said, spending time with us. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, we thank you so much. And while you're there, go ahead and share this video with all your social media platforms. Remember, you can always go over to A Simple Walk Facebook page and join that group. And it's a public group. Join that group and you'll be notified of every time that a video goes up or we're about to have class. And also, I want to plug Veronica's Simply Noahide. Go check out Veronica's group, Simply Noahide. And man, that thing is growing. I mean, that thing is growing. If Veronica keeps getting people, she's going to be able to run for president in a little while. She's going to have that many people on her side. So, but anyway, go check out. Was you about to say something, Veronica?
Just laughing.
She's laughing.
So, Simply Noahide, and Veronica's got a book. Who's got her book there in hand? They can hold up real quick, and mine's in the living room. Right there it is. Simply Noahide. Amazon. Just type in Simply Noahide. Her book will come up. Great information. Everybody, you can also send us an email. Forgot about the email. Send us an email with all your questions. Send that to outreachnoah@gmail.com. outreachnoah gmail.com. Or you can message us on Facebook Messenger, and we'll be glad to discuss things with you. And thank you so much for spending time with us. We will see you next week.
Later.